Good, how are you?
This is a regular monthly.
Ongoing activities that we have at Mount Vernon Elementary is something that I'm very thankful to do. I don't want to take up a lot of your all's time. I know that you all have a full meeting in front of you. Um, I do have a 10-minute video that I would like to share with you. It showcases our students, and it focuses on the social, emotional aspect of school. And that is an area that we are learning more and more about each and every day that our students are back in the building with us. And for us, for me, pre-pandemic, I felt like this was starting to be a growing concern for us. And with the way this last year, the events that have transpired, I think those issues that our students face have just been magnified. And so at Mount Vernon Elementary, we really are trying to be proactive. And we want to try and establish a strong social and emotional learning culture. Now, we are an academic institution. There's no doubt about that. That's a top priority for us. However, if you ask me what my greatest responsibilities are as a principal, it's going to be the well-being and safety of those children. So, again, at MVES, we just want to really make our school a positive environment for all of our students and for our staff, for that matter. And we've had a reoccurring theme throughout the school year that we've tried to promote with students and staff, and it's basically just kindness matters, and how just small acts of kindness can go a really long way. Showing grace when you're able to, we just think that's really important, and try to place an emphasis on that. So lastly, before the video, I'd just like to thank Ms. Christy Parkey. She's one of our guidance counselors, and she has helped put this video together for you all. And if you have any questions or comments afterwards, I'd love to address them. So, Mr. Brandon.
And every gardener is a child who loves to play in the dirt. And every child is a gardener ready to grow. Want to grow something cool and feel better about yourself while doing it? Try gardening. It has both immediate and long-term effects on mental health. Here at MVS, we have created opportunities for kids to learn and grow through gardening by engaging their natural curiosity and wonder through sunlight, soil, and water.
According to researchers, nature restores our minds by attracting our attention without effort. Researchers found children with ADHD were more focused following walks in a park compared with walks in an urban setting. Miss Julie and Miss Sloan's class reported feeling happier almost immediately when engaging in gardening. The students are getting to learn firsthand the life cycle of a plant. They have also learned that getting to work in the greenhouse is a good outlet for working off a lot of extra energy that they have when we have been inside all day. And that they all feel more relaxed and happy with the progress of their plants.
That's okay. Okay. With Earth Day just around the corner, it's a good time to revisit the benefits of being outside in nature and how this can positively impact one's mental health. Miss Elena's second grade class have created QR codes with PSAs, public service announcements to help spread the message, save our environment. We're on air. What? I got the music in me. I got the music in me. You should too. I love music. Research shows that exposure to music can also improve children's ability to learn. Music and movement instructions has been shown to improve children's memory, brain development, learning skills, expressive ability, promotes group learning, practicing social skills such as turn taking and cooperation. Check out Miss Jamie's music class and watch our Mustangs in motion.
Now, there you go.
Here are some opportunities to help improve your social and emotional growth here at MVES. Read, read, read. MVES SRC hosted Hoppin' to Reading Book and Candy Giveaway for students K through 5. It was hopping. Are you struggling to get caught up on schoolwork, don't understand a certain concept? Well, you're in luck. sign of self-neglect? Self-neglect is an inability or unwillingness to attend one person's needs. We need to take care of ourselves both physically and emotionally. When we look good, we feel good. So wash regularly, change clothes, use deodorant, and brush those teeth. Dr. Callie Schaefer will be coming to the school Thursday, April 15th to visit with our 4th and 5th grade classes for health and hygiene talks. Permission forms have been sent home.
Want to see history come alive? Miss Shelley's GT students are putting together a live wax museum. Date to be announced soon. Here's a sneak peek.
Nothing is impossible. Just ask me about my trip around the world in 72 days. That's only one of the things I did when women didn't usually work out somehow. I'm Nellie Blythe, journalist. My real name is Elizabeth Jane Cochran. I was born on May 5th, 1864 in Rockcastle, Pennsylvania. I got my nickname Pinky because I always wanted to wear pink dresses. When I was 6 years old, my father died and I had to move with my mother to Pittsburgh. I don't talk about those years.
Don't forget to check out our Mindfulness Things Google site
For more fun and entertaining activities. So keep mindful about your social emotional growth.
Children thrive,
Schools win.
workplaces benefit,
Society strengthens.
all due to social emotional learning.
Thank you for watching MVS Mustangs. Have a great day.
Well, and that's just to kind of finish up. That's a short video that we're going to share with all of our students, and we're going to try to continue that with which we don't have much longer at school, but we're going to try to do one next month, and then looking towards next year, try to continue that theme, and again, just try to build that culture up. So, thank you all again.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you so
Thomas.
much.
We appreciate you doing that, and that's such a great reminder that kindness does matter, and those are good reminders for all of us, and thank you. We always appreciate seeing our students.
Mr. Thomas, can I
Yes.
ask you a question? What
Yes.
is your current enrollment that you have in your school right now?
We're around close to 80%. We still have around, give or take, 70 students that are still virtual. That number has, slowly increased over the last few weeks. So,
I know I'm very thankful to have my child back in your school building, so
yeah,
very, very thankful.
we are too. We are too.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
It truly is our highlight, just so that you know. And who were the two children that did the speaking?
Madison Williams and Brady Manuel.
Valentine.
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 Yes. It was a big, yeah.
I'm sure they're treats to be around. You
Oh,
could
they
just,
are.
some of her little facial expressions were just priceless, I thought so. Yeah, well, tell them they did a very good job. Yes. Item 4 on our agenda is it's a communication item tonight, and it's the KPC Guaranteed Energy Savings Contract discussion. Mr. Mark Riles, I hope I said your name right, is the facilities consultant, so.
Kind of hard to follow that screen.
Yeah.
I have a granddaughter that's 14. I wish she was at your school. She's doing virtual. Okay, if I talk from here, okay?
Sure.
First of all, thank you all for inviting me, and I hope I can share some things with you that will be helpful. My name is Mark Riles, and I am born and raised in Lexington. I'm an only child of 2 only children. I've been married 38 years to a wonderful wife, have 3 children, 6 grandchildren. I like to fish, I like to ride bicycles. Graduate of the UK College of Architecture, 1977, and started out working for a contractor. I worked for the best architect I've ever known, Mr. Lewis Hugg, who's my master architect, who's a fabulous person and great architect. Went to work for Grave Sherman Carter in 1983. Now it's Sherman Carter Barnhart. I worked for them for 9 years. Was an officer in their firm. And left there for maybe some higher ground. I worked for Ross Feldman, which is now Ross Tarn Architects, another education architect. And worked for them for a couple of years and helped them rebuild their company financially. And in 1993, I got tricked into working for government. Dr. Thomas Boyson was the new Commissioner of Education, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the Kentucky Education Reform Act, which in 1990 maybe is unprecedented education legislation nationwide. Many states have not been through education reform, and facilities was part of that. Dr. Boyson wanted me to come, and I was 40 years old and Superman and thought I could do the job, so I did. I went and planned on working for a couple of years to get some experience, and I ended up being there 17 years. So I've worked in the private sector and the public sector. And then in 2010, I joined the Ohio Valley Educational Cooperative, and I worked for Dr. Mooneyhan, who's a wonderful man. If you know Dr. Mooneyhan, ex-superintendent Shelby County, and I believe he's up to like 51 years, Larry, of service in education.
I think you're about right.
Some idea of his commitment, and he's also a great person to work for. Part of my duties at OVEC, we partner with the Kentucky Educational Development Cooperative, KEDC, which you all remember, and also KPC, the Kentucky Purchasing Cooperative, which is really why I'm here this evening. So that kind of gives you a little bit of, here's the metric. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about metrics tonight. While at the department, we renovated or replaced 65% of Kentucky's K-12 infrastructure. A lot of that was here in Rockcastle County. Over 7,000 projects at $8.2 billion. So a lot of stuff came through our shop. Okay. I want to talk to you. First of all, you have 3 handouts, and I gave you this, which are my notes. And if you don't understand them, you can pitch any or all of these. And I wish I had handouts for everyone because we have some instructional people here, and believe it or not, I may have something for you as well. One of the handouts is, if it's important, and I see Tim's here from CMTA, and I know Tim and I have discussed this quite a bit, and that is something that I was always a champion of, or tried to be, and that is that facilities matter. And if you, a lot of instructional people, some instructional people in the past will say, you give me a group of students and you put me anywhere and we'll do fine. And that's true, but it's also true if you take that same group and you put them in a really high quality facility, they'll perform higher. Okay. And the impact on low socioeconomic groups is greater, which should be expected. Unfortunately, in Kentucky, we have a lot of kids, even in Fayette, where I'm from, that are in low socioeconomic groups, and so we serve a lot of children with free and reduced lunch. And so facilities matter, and that is a old newsletter, I think still relevant, has some good, some of the links are probably old and outdated, but it has some text and there's a bibliography, so I'll share that with you to read at some point. Guaranteed energy savings contracts are, I don't know the scope of your work, but oftentimes they pass over multiple facilities, sometimes improve lighting, air quality, equipment. All of those things are part of the facility environment. In the scholastic indicators, the KDE, the 2 big leverage points for improving schools were school climate and leadership. Okay, so personally, it's my belief, I'm a facility person, I'm a proponent, but I also do believe that they do make a difference, and they do more than just house the work that you do each day. So also, I think I gave you a handout which is on green schools. Maybe the principal, I'm assuming Mr. Thomas, your principal, might want to read that. You're already doing a lot of that stuff, and it might be kind of fun. There are some wonderful student programs that are a result of the Green Schools Initiative. You may not know this, Kentucky by percentage is the highest in the country in use of geothermal for heating and cooling for public schools. And also we have the 2nd lowest utility rate. So it makes it harder to do green things when the payback is not great. If we were in New York, it would be awesome. Also at the end of that, I think one reason I wanted you to look at that is it's about a change initiative. And I think it's interesting. Any sustainable change initiative I find interesting these days in my old age. And that actually resulted in legislation. I think one of the interesting things about the legislation was it was, don't want to sound the wrong way, sponsored by conservatives who oftentimes are not seen to be as interested in environmental things. I find that completely wrong, because I found the conservatives were interested in environmental things. They also were interested in the financial aspect of those things. And on the liberal side, it was unilateral. They were also interested in both avenues. So the Green Schools Initiative and the legislation that passed almost unanimously, along with the Green Schools Caucus, unfortunately some of those things have not become as important because of changes in leadership. But those are interesting initiatives, and I've given you that for informational purposes. The last thing is a little two-pager. Again, it's a KPC price contract initiatives. It gives you a little executive brief on what a price contract is, why would you consider it, delivering fixed equipment for facilities. And so you can look at that. You'll see that we don't have a myriad of things because we're really interested in only the things that superintendents brought to us that they wanted some kind of alternative method of delivery. Okay. So with that, I'm going to experiment here. So in KPC, if you read that little brief, you'll see that one of the things that we say is that all of our venues are built around the best value concept. In KRS 45A, all of our venues are also built around model procurement, and guaranteed energy savings contracts are part of model procurement. There's also a provision, 45A.070, not in your school law book, sorry, they didn't think it was important, which defines best value. So what is best value? So I want to give you a little bit of a sense of that. Essentially, in simple terms, I got to say this first. So if I goof up tonight, I want you to remember one thing. You all made a good decision. Okay, I'm going to try to prove to you that you made a good decision, but I want you to, I want to be sure I say that up front. And the best value is a good part of it. So how is best value different? So essentially, in all of our bid packages, sorry I don't breathe so well through a mask. All of our bid packages, let's do it this way. Traditional deliveries of school building projects in Kentucky are largely done through a process called design, bid, build, okay? The metric for award is low price, okay? Unfortunately, performance is not scored. If you've ever done a school building project and you had a bad contractor, it's a nightmare. It's really, really difficult. So one of the things that Best Value does is we score performance. So when you select anything from the list, including, in this case, CMTA engineers and guaranteed energy savings contracts, it's built on a best value proposition. So price is scored, but so is performance. So let's try our little experiment. So this is a sample. I'd like you to think about, anybody know about artificial intelligence? Kind of heard of it, right? If anybody here knows how it works, I'm going to be embarrassed, because I don't know how it works either, okay? But I want to give you a little something here. So this is an event, okay? So if I hold this bottle out and I let go of it, what's going to happen?
gonna fall to the ground, right? We know it's gonna fall to the ground, right? Anybody have a question about that? Would anybody feel better if I dropped it 10,000 times to show it was gonna fall to the ground? Would you feel more certain about that? No, you wouldn't. It's common sense, right? So it goes something like this. And I've posted, well, let's do that later. So for any event, there are cause and effect. There are conditions, there are natural laws, and there's the time of the event. Okay? So for this simple example, we're not going to get too deep. The conditions are I'm holding the bottle. I've already told you I'm going to let go of it. And so it falls to the ground. Now, something that I want you to make note of is that because you knew the conditions and because you knew the natural law, in this case gravity, you were able to predict the future. Okay? You didn't make a decision about that. You didn't have to think about that. You could predict the future. Okay? Everybody with me? Now, that's essentially how artificial intelligence works. Every event, including hiring guaranteed energy savings, that's an event. It has conditions, it has natural laws, it has a time frame. Now, so let's take a more complicated example, and I'm not going to make one up. Let's just say you have to make a decision. Now, decisions are different from the event that I just showed you, okay? Because the event that I just showed you, you knew what was going to happen. You could see the future. You want to drop the bottle. So what, okay? I would ask you to consider that when you don't know something, let's say you come to a fork in the road, and it's not Yogi Berra, you can't take it, you know. Some people are too young to know who Yogi Berra was. But then it's more complicated because you don't know the conditions. You probably don't know the natural laws. And yet you have to make a decision. Okay? And that's individually, in your family, on a board, government, you have to make a decision. I would submit to you that whenever you make a decision, there's a risk. No risk in the first example. Very clean. So what do we do when we don't know? Whatever it is. Okay, what do we do? So I wanted this to be interactive, but I don't have enough time, I think. So how about this? We get more information. Right? All the education people got to be on with that, right? Information. How about this? How about we collaborate? Okay. How about we try to find out what's important, i.e., what are the dominant metrics of the decision we're about to make? Now I'm going to say something pretty controversial. Take off all the things you've ever learned and just be logical and use common sense. What makes you think that a person or people who don't know about something, if they get more information, how are they going to know what the dominant metrics are? And if they talk among themselves and even argue, are they really going to be able to find their way? Okay? So, and I would tell you that a lot of things work out that way. Sorry. they work out that way in your family. You know, if I haven't figured out in 38 years that I don't talk to my wife in the morning because she doesn't like that when she's having her coffee, I'm pretty foolish. And if I think that's going to change, I'm even more foolish. And if I come in one day and say, you know, it's going to be different today, I'm going to talk to my wife and she's going to be, no, it's not going to be okay. So the most important thing that I would submit to you that you need to do in that situation is find expertise. Okay? Now, we live in a world, unfortunately, of social media. My daughter is the Google queen, and everybody wants to be an expert, thinks they can look it up, do it yourself, etc. But I would tell you that that's not real knowledge or expertise. Okay? Information is not knowledge or expertise. Collaboration, if you don't have expertise, is not helpful and can actually be detrimental to a process at some point. Okay? So, what is expertise? And so, I would submit to you, if you've ever gone out to find an expert, what does one look like? You ever run into somebody that, I'm an expert, and then you go, that person doesn't know squat. What's up with this guy? Lady. So this might surprise you, and there's a lot of science behind this. I'm not making this stuff up. So some characteristics of expertise. Experts tend to be helpful. They're not boastful. They're not arrogant. They tend to be people that you like. Be careful about that too. They're highly credentialed, but there's a lot of people out there with a lot of credentials that are not very good. Maybe a more important metric, people in the industry who know the industry see them as an expert. That's a really good one. So if you're credentialed and you're seen as an expert, you're not boastful. You're probably not wealthy either, because people that help people spend time doing that, not making a lot of money, sorry. And they also, despite what they know, because they know quite a bit, tend to not try to pass themselves off as experts, right? And real experts are always changing and learning new things and developing new things and developing themselves. So if you have a person who went to some high-powered school, got a big education, declared themselves an expert, and they've been doing the same thing for the last 20 years, they're probably not an expert. Okay? So I'm just giving you an anatomy of practical things to look for in an expert. Now, here's a little bit off the subject, but we do this a lot as people, human beings, we do this. So we know we don't know, we're smart enough to get an expert, and then we start directing the expert. Why would we do that? It's not logical, right? If we knew what to do, we wouldn't have had them in the first place. So when you have expertise, real experts want one thing. They want freedom to do what they know how to do. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that they're not accountable. I'm not saying that, but be careful about trying to manage and control expertise. Number one cause of change orders. 90% of all change orders are caused by the owner. The owner causes 90% of change orders. How many boards hire architects that say, I don't want any change orders, man, you know? They got to look in the mirror, okay?
I thought it's always the architect.
Well, sometimes the architects do, but 90%.
Tim thought that too.
So the point of that in a best value proposition is experts reduce risks because they can see the outcome and everything that needs to happen for an event, okay? They know the conditions, they know the natural law, and they know the time. Okay, everybody with me so far? Okay, so, and I want for, this is maybe off the subject, but on the subject. At the top, I posted Dr. Kashiwagi's introduction video on YouTube, which you can watch. It's really about construction, but this logic, IMT theory, which is the basis for a lot of algorithms and artificial intelligence, really can be used for any kind of performance event, including education. Okay? So, this is just for the instruction, well, it's that for everyone. So, this logic is moving, what we call this ultimately is automation. Okay? The biggest risk to producing something, unfortunately, the quality and everything else is people. Okay? You have a lot of employees, you have some great teachers, but people are a risk to efficiency. And so things are being automated as we speak, and they're being automated at an incredible level. And I'll share this little dumb story. In 1972, I took Computer Science 150 honor section. Dr. Nooning was my professor. She was a wonderful lady, young lady, expert in her field, and I did a program. I think the computer was larger than this room. Okay, so I'm a dinosaur. And my program was to place, I don't know if you're a chess player, to place the two kings and a queen on a chessboard at random and checkmate the opposing king without wasting a move, no stalemates. Okay, there's actually a mathematical formula that does that. Took a box of IBM cards this big to run that, okay? If you even know what IBM cards are. So I asked Dr. Nooning, would computers ever be able to play chess? And she said, no. There's not enough memory. Okay? There's not enough memory. Now, this is how fast things are changing. So, I'm the fastest draw in the West in 1990. Nobody can outdraw me. Architecture, 3,000-year-old profession, if not longer, is done one way. It's drawn on paper or parchment. 1990, gone. I'm a dinosaur. Okay? I'm a dinosaur. I can't do AutoCAD, I can't do Revit. I can still draw pretty fast. Okay? And I still have a lot of knowledge, right? So, you've probably heard of Watson, IBM's Watson. It plays Jeopardy, does the weather, also plays chess. Not only does Watson play chess, you probably know Watson beat the world's chess champion. Not the first time, but Watson learned by playing Kasparov how to beat him. Scary. Gives me chills thinking about it, right? So what does that mean? And I'm going to talk about guaranteed energy savings, I promise. So what does that mean for our children right now? You know, I grew up basically architect, still architect. Yeah, I've done other things, but I've had one profession, maybe two, three, however you want to look at it. But how about a world where a whole vocation could disappear like that? So you're training these students, and all of a sudden, it's gone. So I would submit to you this, going back to our topic. This is an opinion, but also comes from Dr. Dean. I would submit to you this. The most important thing children can learn when they're in school is about what their own learning process is. How is it that they learn? Okay? And I've just taught you how to learn. You learn how to spot expertise and consult with it, and that's how you learn. That's how you see. Right? Okay? Now, I don't want to get off the subject, but when I was a young person, I'm not one of those kids that went to talk to the teacher. Right? I wasn't taught that they're a resource that you have to learn how to utilize, because this is part of your education. Because if you don't learn how to do this, you could be left behind. So in Dr. Dean's academies, which you can also look up, they do this two ways. Number one, sounds basic. Mr. Thomas probably doing some of this at his school. You teach them to figure out who they are, where they come from, what their parents do, what were their strengths. There may be things, though, that they cannot see, and you really have to go back 3 generations. Okay? Number 2, what do they love? And number 3, you have to create an environment where they'll seek expertise, know how to see it and find it. I just gave you a few pointers. Every kid should be equipped with that, I think. Okay? Okay, so back to our topic. In projects, we've talked about KPC. One of the things KPC does is uses this best value principle. I just showed how you could use it in education. It can be applied to operation of corporations. Dr. Dean is hired for many different things. But when there are risks, there's added cost. Okay, so if you can reduce the risk in a construction project, price goes down. And I put some of these in the handout here, but a risk to a project is a lack of expertise, use of direction, management, and control by the buyer. By the way, management and control, direction, doesn't work. If you've ever had an employee who's, you just can't manage, at some point you can align them, but at some point you can only do so much there. So in design, bid, build, which is not what we do at KPC, cost is the only metric, and so what happens? It drives performance down. Okay? Performance goes down. And even high performers, and this is true with kids in school, even high performers, when they find out there's a minimum standard, guess what they'll do? They'll work to that standard. They won't work for here. They'll work to that standard. And so even good companies are smart. And what happens is you have a project and you negotiate the fee down, you're feeling real good about yourself. You know they're a pretty good quality firm, but if you negotiate that fee down, are you going to get their best team on your job? Trust me, I've worked in big enough companies to know how that works. You get the C team, right? So be aware of when price is the only metric and performance is not measured, it can actually, and it's not good for the industry either, because it causes good firms to work to a low level. It rewards people who have low performance and low price initially. You end up with products that are very difficult to maintain and sustain over time. They're not serviceable, and it ultimately costs you more, okay? Okay. Okay, another thing that I think is important to note is, and I'm an architect, so I can say this, and I've designed a lot of buildings, but when you're hiring a provider, a vendor to do a roof, who is the expert? Okay? Architects have expertise, but you could ask Trent, would you want me up trying to fix that crimp on your metal roof? That'd be a joke. I might be able to spot it, but you don't want me nailing shingles or doing stuff like that. Sorry, okay? So you get my point, is the vendor is the one who actually installs the stuff, is the real expert. And in all of our KPC models, including guaranteed energy savings contracts, you get that person here before anything happens. You've already had one experience just in a little roof thing that you may or may not know about that. But so that's important, because here's what happens. Let's say your roof is 20 years old and you want to, it's leaking some, and you go, you know what, we need a new roof. And the architect says, yeah, you need a new roof. Let's rip it off and start over and do a new roof. Well, the most expensive thing in a roof system is, architects don't get this right either, so don't worry, the insulation. The insulation is the most expensive part. So what's the part that I care about as your advocate? It's the membrane. So why would we cheapen up the membrane when the most expensive thing is the insulation? You got to pay for the insulation anyway. So many school districts do that. I'm not saying if you do that, it's okay. I get it. But when we bring an expert, the architect says, I don't want to do that because it's risky, because I don't know if a roofer will warranty the roof with existing insulation, because the architect doesn't have that expertise. So from a risk management, them looking out for themselves, rip it all off, buy new. But what if the best solution, the best value, is to save the better part of the insulation because it's fine? Come back, maybe add insulation and put the highest quality membrane on it, and you do that for even less money. You see? So that's what we mean when we say vendor-centric. All the KPC vendors, all the KPC venues are vendor-centric, where the expertise of the contractor is brought to you early on, and not only will they help develop the solution, but they'll also give you a hard price. And then you can say, you know what, too expensive, I don't want it, but that price is good. For the art, that's how good our people are. The architect can design. We've already done specifications. We've already paid for all that, okay? So you still have architect, they still do their thing. Our people will hold their price because they know the solution. And if you know how specifications are written, and I do, you'll know that manufacturers largely write those, okay? They help the architects because the architects can't have expertise in every area. So in best value procurement, performance is measured and scored. It's vendor-centric. You get the benefit of best value in a solution. The award is based on performance and cost, and all of this minimizes your risk. Okay? Everybody with me so far? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about guaranteed energy savings contracts. No more bottles, no more funny stories. So how are we different? So, I don't know, has anybody read KRS 45A, Guaranteed Energy Savings Contracts?
Trent, I think you've read it.
You should, if you read that, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but if you don't know anything at all, it is very clear that no advocate for school systems was part of that draft. So that statute was written for vendors. And I know who had a big part in that, so I know that to be true. There's actually a provision in Article 11 in the statute, in the component 3542, I think, that says no award can be made based on a low bid. Wow. That's pretty shocking. Not only does it not recommend bidding anything or any accountability for cost, but it actually says you shall not award based on low price. Now, I've just given you some reasons not to do that. However, if you don't have the transparency, and that's what all of this best value is about transparency, then you have to really watch out for that kind of thing, because you can really be taken to the cleaners. So here's real quick, maybe not real quick, I'm never doing anything quick. So when in the old days, if you read the statute, the minimum standard is an RFP is provided. I would ask you, how is that RFP written if you don't have the expertise? The answer is largely it was written by the vendor the district was working with at the time. Industry knows that. When that RFP is put out, there's one respondent. Okay. That's just the way it is. No one in here probably knows that. I mean, I'm at a place where I get to receive all these things, so I see them. And even the Department of Education recommended for a long time that people do RFPs because they want a competition. But what I would say to them and to you, first of all, if there's not enough expertise to write the RFP so things are fairly vetted and there's real competition, then what makes you think putting something out like that, especially if there's only one respondent, is a good process? It's kind of like me thinking I can go talk to my wife in the morning and it's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. Okay. So superintendents and board members came to us and they said, is there a better way? And we said yes, or we said we don't know. And we did a lot of research in the industry, and we learned that there were some companies that did not do work in Kentucky mostly, but they had something called open book pricing. And so the transparency that we were looking for in the old days, I call it the energy equation, and I don't have a whiteboard, don't need one. But if you can imagine this, you have some energy conservation measures on the one side. They create a certain amount of savings. That's guaranteed. And whatever the numbers turn out to be, the numbers turn out to be. Sounds fine. But what if the energy conservation measures cost half of what the savings is? Then the companies took all that as profit. Okay, so why? Because there's no transparency. So here were some things. Number one, in these projects, first thing, once the vendor secured, and this is just the truth, once they secured the project, there was, depending on the company, but this was often the case, they wanted a contract right away. Okay, so contracts were executed by the board basically as soon as selection occurred. Oftentimes, I don't think this happened with any of our vendors, and you never know, school districts didn't know what they bought until the equipment was actually installed. Okay, so the design of the actual equipment, specifications of the equipment, what you were getting was not clear because there was no transparency. Also, the soft costs, which are the cost of design, commissioning, project management, and overhead and profit are the big ones. No one knew what those were. Okay. And thirdly, if that's not enough, you didn't know what you were paying for the stuff. Okay, they were selling you equipment. There were no unit costs. And even if you were getting a good deal, there was no way you knew whether you were getting a good deal or not. Okay, I'm not saying all this was bad, but so what KPC did, we found some companies that used a transparent process in other states, and they said, you know what? We can do well. We can make money with this process. We're not going to make $1 bazillion, but it's transparent. It's a fair deal. And it was kind of what we were looking for. And so we worked with them for months, if not a year or more, to develop some metrics where we could do the following. Number one, we can get the complete design of the entire project. I'm going to say, sorry, but at the vendor's risk before a contract is executed, so you know exactly what you're buying. Okay? Number two, all of the soft costs were vetted as a percentage of the construction cost on a competitive basis on a par. So we had 5 proposals, maybe the most ever. Okay, maybe the most ever. That didn't happen overnight, by the way. There was some reluctance, but we got 5 in the last go around. And they were all, because they knew what they had to do for open book pricing, they knew what everybody's numbers were, kind of. And so they were all pretty close competitively in a range, except for one. That one had 3 times the markup of the others, and we disqualified them just on price only because they were all pretty much equal on par performance-wise. Lastly, the vendor that you selected also submitted to the rigor of this process is that you get 3 prices, if possible, at least 2, on every energy conservation measure, and you get to see them. And you can pick as long as they say they're qualified. That is huge, okay? So, real quick, in this process that KPC has not invented because it's in the industry, it's kind of a best practice model. The solution, again, vendor-centric, developed by experts. You have a wonderful firm. Hopefully the others did well in their interviews. They help develop a solution. They'll have all the energy savings, all that sort of thing. They'll have the energy conservation measures. They will have the systems, the equipment, and at some point they'll get competitive pricing for you to look at. They'll also come forth and show you their soft costs, okay, which are proprietary. We don't broadcast those at KPC, but we know what they are. They're bound by a contract with us, you see, to provide this on your behalf, okay? So soft costs, hard costs, complete design reduces your risks. Okay? And I think the other part of it is, and Tim can probably tell you more about this, but it takes all the hanky-panky out of these things if there was any. I can tell you there was a lot. So if I secure a contract with the Board of Education for X million dollars and I don't have any transparency, I can immediately go out and start shopping. And if I can find somebody who'll do it for less, I can put that in my pocket. And you never know. Some things are being marked up 100%. I know that for a fact. I don't know. I can just tell you that I know things about that.
You
So,
say some things are being, what type of things? Explain.
okay, so
Like, and I mean, you don't have to go in great are you talking about on a board level as far as
So-
architect or
So here's an
or
example.
materials
Yeah,
from
so here's
big companies?
here's an
Okay.
example. I won't go into too much detail because I know we're running short or already too long. There was a project years ago. Windows was a component. Very difficult to pay for Windows. Large capital expenditure, fairly low payback. But they had it in there. The price of the Windows in the contract was $650,000. I won't tell you the company. I won't tell you anything. You don't. It's not important. So back then, they wanted to use capital funds, and I said, you know, I really don't have authority over this, but you're in capital money, so now I do have authority. And you have to bid that component. They said, okay. And I said, you know what? You got a good window company nearby. They'll probably be good. They'll probably give you a good price. So they bid the windows. The price of the windows, $350,000. So I said, okay, Mr. Superintendent, we'll let you spend $350,000 of capital money, but that's it. Superintendent said, I've already signed a contract for $600,000. This probably sounds haughty and arrogant, and I hope I never did this in the chair, but I basically told him I couldn't approve that. I said, you got into this mess, and if you want to cough up the general fund to make that, but that was almost, okay, not 100%, but a lot. There are other stories, but that's just one story. If we'd had this process, that would have been known. Okay? And the board would have, that savings from the initial pro forma would have been passed on to you folks, right? So, that's basically it. So what I would like to kind of close with is number one, KPC is a resource to you. This sounds kind of the wrong way, but I'm free. So I'm a resource to you. Third party. I'll help you any way I can. I work with the vendor. If you have a question that you don't feel comfortable with, you can call me directly. My number one job is to help you. Okay? And so if one day you like my roofer and he comes and fixes your stuff and you go, you know, we're going to do a roof and we're going to do single ply, we're going to do low bid, it's fine. It's all good. I just want you to kind of know what's out there. So KPC has a service for facility consulting. We do have these price contract arrangements. Focuses on lowering your risks. And here's a couple of other things to consider. So in a best value, nothing is free, right? So somebody's got to pay for Mark Riles. Somebody has to pay the architect that does the roof specifications. Somebody has to advertise the RFP. Somebody has to do what, blah, blah, blah. So bottom line, you need to know this, transparent. KPC gets 2% paid from the vendor, okay? Okay. Now, I want to say a couple things about that. Number one, it's a bargain. It's a bargain. If I were working on my house and I'm not a wealthy man, for 2%, I could get the very best contractor in town and the very best materials. Would I go for that? You betcha I would. If it was 10%, I'd go for it. So 2% is and it all actually graduates down to 1%, depending on the sizes of the projects. And the roof projects almost always say 2%, but some of the energy projects, when they get large, they go down to 1%. And I would tell you that is to pay for the work that KPC does on your behalf. Basically, KPC cannot do anything that you can't do, okay? We're not, we have to do all the same rules. We have to have board actions. We have to, at one time, we even sent BG1s in, and Greg Dunbar said, I don't want to see any more BG1s. And I said, look, I know what the rules are. I wrote them, so, you need to have it. So that's again, I don't want that to sound too much like a sales pitch. You've already made your decision. I'll go back to my original statement. I think you made a very good decision. I think that these projects are very complex. They have components of finance, they have components of construction, they have components of design, they have components of operations. They're very complicated. And seldom, even in the big districts that have architects on staff, do they have the expertise, in my opinion, to really do what we've done. I guess I should say this too, which again may sound haughty and don't mean for it to. We started out as a fledgling business, and of course a lot of this is wonderful partners that we have like CMTA. But KPC is the largest provider of energy savings projects for public schools in Kentucky now. Okay, so for whatever that's worth, at the end of the day, it's only as good as the project that you get. But you're in really good hands, and again, I don't know all the processes. I know that I think it's okay to say this. You may not have known this, Ms. Ballinger, but I know you had communicated with our CEO. She had communicated with me to send information about some of the things that I've just gone over. So we will furnish some of that information, and I think largely the reason I'm here tonight is to basically go over that so that everybody can see that. Okay?
I have a quick
Yes, ma'am.
little quick question. It's hard to say that. I've served on this board for many years, and this is the first time I've ever heard of your company. And I guess we've had several building projects over the years, and I wish maybe, I'm sure Trent would like to have known of before. I'm just curious is why that's not been advertised to us as a board.
Well, I think I have to say, in all honesty, maybe we've not done as good a job as we should have done. I will tell you this, that we probably started the actual price contract support for schools about 5 or 6 years ago. We didn't really know how it was going to go. I'm a quasi-public employee. I guess I'm a public employee. However, I got to pay for myself, sorry. And we didn't know if that was going to work. And so Dr. Mooneyham said, I don't really care whether you pay for yourself, Mark. We want to provide an excellent service and do what's good for schools. So, and I'll pick on my colleague over here. So Mr. Hammond, as you know, is one of our OVEC districts. I think it's fair to say we go back a long way. And when I talked to Mr. Hammond about this, he said, I didn't know you guys did this sort of thing, right? And so we need to do a better job, so I'll yield to your question, that we have the service available, and that is everything from just consulting, which is free to school districts, and all the way to price contract deliveries for fixed equipment. And so we'll work on that.
Well, I wasn't trying to be condescending by saying that. It's just that over the course of time, all these building projects, you know, the thought of having an expert opinion to things, you know, like you said, it goes a long way. And I guess I was just curious because we've attended a lot of conferences and stuff, and that's just not something that's been brought to my attention that I could, because I think I even questioned Trent when he introduced this. I was totally lost about it, and I probably questioned him too much because
questions are good. No, it's complicated because there are people that do know about us and use us, and we're not real large. And our focus maybe has been to demonstrate a certain level of ultimately what I want from you all is 100% customer satisfaction. We have not had a project so far where we haven't gotten that. We're going to publish that eventually and put it on the website so that our vendors don't have to tell you how great a job they do. we're going to tell you how great a job they do. And I mean, we've grown from $1.5 million, $2 million a year to over $100 million in 5 years. So our business is growing. Some things maybe to that end. When we first started out, we had KPC, KEDC, OVEC. We thought other regions would be interested in what we do. They said, no, thank you. So we said, we got enough customers. We got almost 100. And so there was no investment. Stock was low. KEDC, OVEC supported. Then it got more successful. And so now we have revenue sharing with all the co-ops in Kentucky. So we're beginning to spread our network. We have projects in Ballard County, you know where that is, on the Mississippi River. We've had projects in Pike County. We've had projects in Covington. So we're spreading out. And it doesn't seem right to me, now that we're being successful, that we're not sharing revenue with the co-ops for the districts. They're securing our services when they're paying the administrative fee, so that administrative fee gets shared as well. So hopefully, I have to tell you this, Miss Mink, is part of my reason for being here is to let you know that, because we do need to kind of get the word around. And we are now starting to get where people are saying, hey, if you're going to do this, you need to talk to these folks. You know, if you don't hire them, that's fine, but you know, we're getting word of mouth recommendations. So, and that's really the best kind of marketing. In companies, you know, the 2% sometimes scares people, but when I worked at architecture firm, won't tell you which one, marketing, 5%. Right off the top. I said, wait, I got the job. Sorry, give me my 5%. The marketing lady comes back, wants her check. So what we say to vendors is, you know, you can spend that on, golf outings, dinners, whatever, but if you spend it with us, you get real projects. And the only time you ever pay is when you get a project. How about that for marketing? So I think a lot of times, depending on the structure of the company and their marketing, sometimes that's absorbed as kind of the cost of doing business as a marketing effort for their company, if you know what I'm saying. I think that's very real. I have not found that you can find the 2% in the great scheme of things anyway. So I don't mind talking about it. I think it's fine. And I think it's a good deal. I think it's a bargain. And hopefully I've demonstrated to you tonight that there is value in the choice that you've made. So.
Thank you, Mark. And with that, of course, I want to say this to Angie and the rest of the board, because I think it would be beneficial. Dr. Evans has dealt, is aware of this as well. The entire explanation to boards of education, because boards of education have not dealt, and even with this, the project's here, and I think that there should be more. I'd recommend something, and maybe making it a requirement for KSBA, where board members had to participate in that, where they talked about architectural projects versus guaranteed energy savings, RFPs, and the entire thing, and then for KEDC, the purchasing cooperative, telling, you know, if boards of education and superintendents, because I've seen a lot of superintendents, and you've seen some know a little, some know a lot, and some know nothing. That if there was more understanding, and again, back to this, the projects that were here were architecturally designed. You know, the renovation of Brownstone School. Mm-hmm. You had to have an architect to design that. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm saying this, that is not like this project. Mm-hmm. This is an energy project. And to have that explanation out there, all that out there, in a condensed form, because with a group of board members at KSBA, you don't keep their attention very long.
Yeah.
And it needs to really, about like Mr. Coffey with his third graders or something.
Well, it's a good point, and to just not to divert too much, but I know Tim and I have been working on this, and I don't have the slide, but trust me, I'm working on it. When I get the data, if I get the data, I'll share it with you regardless of what it is. But with the transparent process, we believe, some vendors have told us, that the cost is very comparable to design, bid, build. So, if that's the case, Greg Dunbar would have a cow if I said this in front of him, but I will someday. I hired Greg, he's a friend, so it's okay. So, if you can pick your contractor, you have complete transparency. You have the performance metric taken care of. And if it is on a par with design, bid, build, this is actually a better way to deliver projects than design, bid, build. Reduces your risks. In a design, bid, build, you don't have any performance. You don't have this gentleman's company monitoring your energy performance. You design, bid, build, they're gone, right? It's up to you. Not only are they monitoring it, they're guaranteeing it. They're guaranteeing the level of performance. So your only real shortfall in the beginning was to have transparency on cost and a certain level of performance to be scored to really get you there. So we're studying that right now. But to your point, yes, now I will tell you this, and you know this, Larry, when I was director, I used to do professional development. Every new superintendent came in, they had class with me, right, for a half a day. I don't think you did, you're before that time, but so we did try to do a lot of that. And yes, we do need to do education programs. Sam and I are working on that as we speak. I'm going to an energy conference tomorrow to do a presentation there in Bowling Green. So yes, to your point, we do need to do more. And again, it sounds the wrong way, but you know, we've kind of gotten busy, and that's a good thing. But this is really a service to schools, and so people need to know about it. And if it's not for them, that's okay. I mean, we're going to have enough business. It's clear that we're going to have enough business now, and I think the networks are growing. One of the things that, if you watch the video that I've given you from Dr. Kashiwagi, you'll see that, let's do it this way. Probably not true with energy savings, but in roofing, in one venue, I have 8 of the very best roofers on the planet, okay? Not very many of those people do schoolwork normally. Why? Because they show up to bid day. There's 30 contractors, a lot of them not qualified. What are their chances of getting it on low price? Why waste your time? So I'm going to do negotiated work with hospitals where people appreciate my expertise, and so I go there. So what's happened with this low bid thing is it's driven a lot of good contractors out of the school market. So another thing I think we're doing, I know we're doing, is we're bringing these high quality people back into the market to service schools. Of course, we have to educate. We still are going to have people that want to do low bid. We get that. So I think it's important to, again, we're also not one and done, if I can use that word. Lord knows John Calipari needs to study that a little bit, but anyway. These contractors have an ongoing relationship with KPC. So they're high quality, but they have a financial purpose to highly perform and to get better and better and better. If you have just one project, design, bid, build, they're gone, you'll never see them again. You know, what's up with that? So,
Well, thank you.
Any other,
Sorry.
any other questions for?
Well, we appreciate you coming, appreciate your
Well,
time.
I'm sorry, I
and
probably took
thank
way
you.
too much time, but
Thank
hopefully you had a little fun.
Yeah.
At my age, if it's not fun, you shouldn't be doing it, right?
But we do appreciate you and appreciate you educating the board and appreciate Mr. Hammond for suggesting, your presentation and.
Okay, and I've left cards with all of you. That's I'm a phone call, email away if something comes up. We'll be sure to, I'm sure that this gentleman back here will, and with you all, will keep the proper chain of communication to everyone. But if you have something individual that you want to, probe on a little bit, feel free to send me anything and we'll get answers back appropriately and share that with everyone, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming. We're gonna move along to our item 5 is our operations and actions. We were able at our work session last night to go over some that we probably would have had questions about. I need a motion to approve or, got a question? Okay,
I do, and I'm really sorry.
that's all right.
And I know the reason it's, the salary schedule, the amendment to the salary schedule for summer. I know you're planning with that, but would it kill your plans if we approved all of this but that?
Did not approve that?
Yes, would it, and move that to when we, at the next meeting when you approve the salary schedule?
We can do that. It is gonna make it difficult to plan summer school because right now we're trying to gather, a needs assessment of how many teachers that we need, and we are having difficult time getting those teachers vested. And I feel like if we could publicize that difference in pay from 25 hours to 35 hours, then we could get, a good pool of teachers and have a better idea of how we're going to address that learning loss. But that's your decision. But that is the rationale behind trying to move forward.
And I knew that did, and of course, I had a glitch in looking at the attachments, and that's the reason I'm sorry. On that item, of course, I mentioned a little bit of it last night. I can just abstain on the vote, which that means it's going with the majority anyway. But I really, I shared my concerns last night.
I questioned you about it, but I am going to take your expert advice on what you feel is best for our school district on your recommendation. That is something normally that is voted on whenever we do the regular salary, but I understand the importance right now because you need to find people that are willing to do it this summer, so.
Right, and to make a note, this is an amendment to this year's salary schedule because it is for the summer school that will be taking place in June.
Right.
And this is only
For this summer.
for those weeks.
Yes, those summer school
What were
weeks
the
only.
days that you had planned for that?
Mr. Robert, do you have there's 3 weeks in June.
It's
I don't
June
have
the
that.
2nd through, I believe, the 18th. I'll look at my calendar here.
And my concern is, of course, this has nothing other than just the straight across the board amount. That's it. I mean, the rest, I'm with y'all. But that part.
Can you further explain what you mean about a straight across the board?
Well, and again, I'm sorry. Should have done more work on it previously, because I actually meant to send an email to everyone. I'm concerned with, everyone needs, I'm good with raising the price, but when you look at certified versus classified and making it the same, if you look at the percentage for the classified person, I'm just afraid that and it needs to be raised significantly, but I would have rather done something like I referenced last night, or with certified staff, and then just boost classified a dollar amount versus just straight. I really have a concern about that. But again,
Well, I do understand your concern, but it was my recommendation because I just feel like that we've asked so much of our food service staff already this school year, our transportation staff. I mean, they've gone above and beyond the entire school year, and this is our way to show our appreciation of them if they are willing to assist us in summer school as well.
I have one question pertaining to that. Since that is a significant difference in the regular pay, I would assume, if you have a large amount of employees that volunteer to do that, more than what you need, how are you gonna pick and choose?
So we will have to create a plan with Miss Jamie and with Mr. Hopkins for transportation, but we don't feel like that's gonna be a problem because we're already having such a difficult time recruiting people to want to do summer work for
Even
us.
teachers also.
Mhm.
But if you did have
Well, our principals have already established an X number, they're gonna need X number of teachers for summer school.
do you know about how many that is?
They've each presented us a plan. It varies by school because each school has a different number of students that are going to be eligible or that they're going to try to target their services to.
At the high school, for instance, our ESS, again, that will determine our numbers at the high school, depending on how successful those students are in ESS that are not being successful right now. Those dates are June 2nd through the 18th, basically, that 3-week period. From June 2nd through the 18th, that's the third week of June. And we do know that obviously during that time, some of our staff will be on vacation, and they've talked about some rotations there as well.
And again, like we mentioned last night, this would be a use of our ESSER 2 fund, so it would not be money coming out of the general fund.
And I guess, and I'll say this now, hush on it, because I would be more of a proponent of, and not for classified, but with certified, their daily rate, their hour, their rate, their current rate of pay for the number of hours that they're there, whatever that is. And then with classified, just a lump sum increase. I'm not talking about not making it significant, but to make them equal, I'm concerned about that. Because, and it would work both ways if you were looking at the classified person and the certified, but in this case, I can make her mad today and her mad tomorrow, or have an issue with them that I'd really rather prevent if we could. And I'm talking about if you increase their pay $5, $10 an hour and made the rate of pay per hour what it is, I think you'd have less likelihood of. Maybe I'm just concerned.
I know, I see what you're talking
I
about.
understand that.
And I guess I just go a little bit further. If I have the certified person that makes normally $30 an hour or $40 an hour, and Anna, whatever job she has as the bus driver, she makes $15 an hour. If I make them on the same playing field and she's the certified person, you have the same chance of irritating or troubling Anna as you would, well, whoever I use as first example. The person on the low end, we can also trouble the person on the high end. So if we went with the current rate for the certified person and then just make a lump sum increase for the rest, make it up right now, and we'll approve, or I'd be all for approving.
So what I don't understand, pay the certified not give certified an increase?
Yes, I get in the past, because we talked about it, it's $25 an hour versus giving them $35 an hour. I would assume that they probably, depending on where they are on the salary schedule, that they'd actually make more than $35 an hour. Some of them would.
So let me make this suggestion. We are going to have a special call board meeting for strategic planning. What if we gather something, that way we're not waiting all the way till May?
Sure.
And we look at that salary schedule and see how that falls out, and then present that at the special call board meeting.
I think that's great.
I
think that's great, because I think it's too long to
way
wait.
I think the
we
question
can
is.
compare the two
Right.
options, and you all can make a decision looking at that comparison.
I think that's great, because I think it is too long to wait.
So in typical summer school, do bus drivers get the same, is $25?
They do not.
Okay.
So this would just be, again, in my recommendation, it was thinking about everything that they have been through, and we've asked our food service staff to do so much more, and our transportation staff all year, a way to reward them if they can
And
do
they
that.
need that, they most definitely need
No, but I
that.
see that, because the next year, the standard's gonna be,
But
I
I
know
think
they understood it's
everybody
one.
understands that this is COVID
we
related,
assume
and,
so,
yes.
but sometimes
but we
it's.
can,
Uh-huh.
We also have some data that we can share from other school districts and what their plans are for summer. It's a discussion that is statewide. And we have conducted some regional, inquiries. And we
Are
have
there
had
other
that.
districts that's doing?
Is this straight across the board?
Some districts are doing daily rate, some districts are doing something similar to us. The majority were, at this rate that we looked at the time that we looked at them.
$35 to $45
Right.
is what
There was
we,
at least one that was $45 an hour.
And
Across the
that's-
board for everyone?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And we can share that data.
And we can share that, but we can also figure it based on hourly wage and hourly rate, and then compare the two, and you all can make a decision.
But, and quickly, of course, I made up the salary. Somebody making $54,000 a year, a teacher making $54,000, 185 days, 7 hours a day, would be making $41 an hour.
That was gonna be my question. Wouldn't there be some teachers that
It
would be
different
making
that
more
way.
than $35 an hour normally if they did that just on a normal calendar?
So that, if we do that based on that, then we're gonna have discrepancy, and, teacher A is gonna make X amount, teacher B is gonna make X amount. We were just thinking if we did it across the board this way, then it's clear, and it's clean cut, and it's simple, and everybody knows the rate that they're gonna be making for summer school.
Currently, our, stipend rate for after school is $25 per hour for certified, $25 per run for transportation. Classified, other classified are paid their regular rate, which makes it very difficult for, food service to, recruit individuals. It's been an issue that we've dealt with summer school and providing summer meals, for a number of years.
Could you, I know that I just have 2 people willing to work summer because the pay is just so low, they don't see that it's worth it.
Could you poll and say if this was increased, would you have an influx of people wanting to work? Don't know if that would be a concern.
And, I'll throw this thought out too. As far as the number, raise the classified person $10 an hour. But I just think there needs to be a difference between the certified and classified. Whatever you're doing for one does not necessarily fit the other. That's my whole point. And I'm all for giving classified $10 increase, because they have had it's been a challenging time, and it's difficult to get food service workers, bus drivers.
Do you think that would be appealing to them if they got $10 more versus the 25 or 35?
It would be more appealing, but not as appealing. They have had a rough year, they've worked really hard, so this would be an opportunity to pay them back.
Would you need all of them? Would you need them all?
I don't know that we would need them all, but we would definitely work out a schedule of whoever wanted to work would get their opportunity.
I think the question is not though, paying them less than 35. I don't think that was what the concern is. It's just if we're gonna pay classified 35, then we need to look at something that would be comparable to our certified staff.
Because
More than maybe what and I understand what you're saying. I don't know what the answer is, but I do understand.
And it's not the end of the world, but I just see it as an issue making them equivalent.
Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and Ms. Carrie, if you'll get us some information together, and when we have our next special call,
Yes.
let that be on our agenda,
Put that on there.
and we'll look at that ahead of time and vote for that part. That way you can still have that before, so we can get summer school rolling. But besides, with the deletion of that we're voting for, are there any other questions under operations and actions?
I move for approval of that with that removed.
That amendment, okay? I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Okay. Discussion and action, review and approve the monthly financial reports, Ms. Jenny Sweet.
Last Wednesday, we uploaded, the monthly financial report for the month ending in March, and I'm sure you've had an opportunity to review those. Do you have any questions that?
I might have one next week and have to call you, but.
Absolutely, you call anytime, I'll be always available.
Thank you, Miss Jenny. We need a motion to approve our monthly financial reports.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor? Okay. Item 6B, review and approve the GESC committee recommendation of CMTA for GESC project. Mr. Clark.
That's a lot of acronyms there.
That is.
We had a very, very good meeting, committee meeting, with all the vendors. And I'm not gonna go long on this because I think we've spent a lot of time on it already, but, I just wanna say that I thank every member of the committee very much. It was very much a committee decision. Everybody had some great input. I think we all learned a lot, saw three very different approaches. It was a really good meeting, and it was very obvious to all of us once it was over that who was the somebody said, I don't remember who it was, our money would be safest with CMPA. I thought that was probably the bell ring of the night. Don't get too big a head over there, Jim. But yeah, I think that's the way we need to go, and it's gonna be a good project.
And will you tell them who, if it's okay, who the community member was on our committee, because that really helped.
It was Derek Singleton.
We had a lot of good info from him.
He has been through many of an energy project himself, and he knew it inside and out.
Yeah.
He was a
That's awesome.
very,
He was a big asset, big
Yeah.
asset.
We
Yes.
need to,
Oh,
as
yeah.
a board, we need to maybe send him a
Yeah,
letter
it was
of
great.
thanks
We will.
for
Yes.
serving on that.
He was great.
Thank
that's
you.
about all I've got, unless you guys got any questions for me or for Tim or whoever. I mean,
I wanna make a comment.
Sure.
Of course. Of course, when I, of course, talk to Mark Ryle, because he is an OPEC, and based on what Angie said last meeting, and the conversation we had was a lot shorter than what he. I said, well, I'd like you to come tell him that, but it was a short version. And, that was what I was after, but, the lengthy version, understanding what you vote for, though, is important to me. Understanding the issues, and I appreciate him coming, appreciate the work that everyone's done in that. And then, of course, I told Tim too, my dealings with CMTA, of course, they've worked and done some work in Gallatin County, and I commended Tim, asking him to pass it along to whomever, that I appreciated their follow-through and their commitment to assist with cleaning up an issue that was from oversight. And a difficult situation there with the board, the architect, and the whole gamut, and that CMTA committed to their part, that really was in an effort to appease the situation, and the intent to finish it off this summer. It was on some security cameras, but my dealings with CMTA has been positive in Gallatin County. Different setup, different arrangement, different project, but.
Mr. Trent, so with this being approved tonight, which you're gonna get the board approval, what's next? What do you do next?
Well, next I will create a project in FactPack, which is the state system that you put in BG1s and things now. It's electronic rather than paper and pencil like it used to be. And the process will get started. Their engineering work's already begun. We'll just move right on down the line. We got a pretty aggressive timeline. I spent Thursday with an engineer at Mount Vernon Elementary all day, and he spent Friday there too. So I mean, we've been through a lot of the buildings already. So yep, it'll get going.
Thank you very much. We need a motion to approve the recommendation that Mr. Trent has presented tonight. I'm not repeating all of those letters.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, item 7 is a discussion review superintendent's personnel action report, if anyone has any questions. Okay, Item 8 is department reports. We got things sent to us
Those
on our
have all-
Google Drive.
Those have all been loaded. If you have any questions, I think Brandon did want to make one comment, about our email, just for your information, so you have that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you guys, and everybody else already knows, but we are moving forward with Gmail for all of our staff and our students. Right now, we use our Office 365, which is just Microsoft. We're just switching everything to Gmail. So we've moved teachers' historical emails back for years and years and years over to Gmail, and our go-live date will be the afternoon, Thursday, the 22nd. So we'll go live to Gmail. So all of our students, instead of checking our email in one spot in Office 365, we'll move to Gmail, which basically just puts us in that whole world.
Yeah.
Now we use Google Classroom, we use Google Sheets and Docs and Slides, and then we check our email somewhere else. So it's just going to basically put us in the Google world a little more. So just want to make sure you guys knew that. It'll be a big deal for everybody to have to check their email in a different place.
Item 9 is our superintendent communication. Ms. Terry?
Since we had our, work session yesterday, I think I've discussed most everything with you that I need to, but I did want to inform you that, graduation, we've discussed that briefly before. The date is going to be, we have 2 days actually, because our graduation is going to be held on the football field, socially distanced. 7 p.m. will be the time of the evening, and that will be Tuesday, May 25th, or depending on weather, Thursday, May 27th. So we have 2 days set, and we'll monitor the weather to see which will be most appropriate for an outdoor event. So, really excited about this, and Mr. Bussell is excited about offering this in a different venue, and I think it'll be neat.
This is not something that we have discussed, and I know in the past, Jenny can correct me on all of it or remind me, we always did something as a board for our senior class, as far as taking them on a trip, or, because did away with project graduation, and then went to making sure that they had a trip. Well, that's sort of out of the question now, so.
One year, I think they had something at the high school,
Yes.
like they brought in a
Kind of a
carnival or something, didn't Miss Natalie, that's when you were still there? Yes.
Yeah, we had a big senior day, senior celebration.
Yeah.
Are you aware of anything that they might have right now, or is there anything that we could do, or?
We have not had those discussions with Mr. Bussell, but I can do that and then report back at our special call board meeting with any suggestions that he has.
And I may plug shamelessly, Arts Association is doing the masked seniors. I don't know if you're aware of that. So we are raising money through the Arts Association to give to our seniors. We did it a little bit last year. The Arts Association is the sponsor for it. So just a thought, we're already doing that. We'll have it hopefully available graduation. So
They've done a phenomenal job of
They did a
supporting
lot
our
last
kids.
year,
Yeah,
yeah.
great job.
The egg hunt was a huge success. I
Egg hunt was
know
great.
that. That was a home run.
yes, so thankful for our Arts Association to help us do this, and it's been great. And we have lots of parents, lots of community members. We're having a great time.
And thank you for your work
Oh,
on
I love
that,
it.
Angie, supporting our students.
Okay, my next question, I'm sorry, I've got all kinds of questions. What about prom?
Okay, that date has been set, May 15th. That originally we said seniors only, and then as Mr. Bussell began surveying the student body and to surveying how many students he projected was going to attend, that has now been opened up to juniors and seniors. So no lower classmen, all the same rules that we followed about bringing outside guests, that will apply to this year as well. But it will be a junior and senior prom. It will be held in the gym. And he's got those details worked out of the spacing of the gym and social distancing. And
Good, a little bit of normal.
really excited for that.
That's great for our kids. Makes me very happy. Do you have anything else?
That's all that I have this evening,
All
unless
right.
you have anything else for me.
Board comments, Miss Anna, we'll start on your end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Miss Misty.
I'm good. Just thank you all for your hard work.
Miss
I'm great, thank you.
Larry.
I've got one more comment to make about Tim. Since Mark Riles is gone, he referenced 1993. Trying to look around, size this crowd up.
I graduated that year.
Not many people-
I graduated that year.
Not many people you want to talk to.
I mean, but.
I was there with him.
Well, then you're dating yourself, Miss Daniel. But a small crowd. And Tom Boyson, interesting character. That's it.
I wanted to, just a couple of things I wanted to say. First of all, Mr. Coffey, I didn't ask you a lot of questions, not because I don't have a lot of questions for you, okay? But I just wanted to say, as a parent, not as a board member, but as a parent, I appreciate everything that you and your staff do to keep my little girl safe. And I am not a teacher, and it was proven during virtual that I am not a teacher. And
You're here.
Since school has reopened and Carabella's been able to come back to school, everything about her has changed as far as she's thriving, which I knew that she would. But I think about her, and I know how much I'm concerned for her, and I think about all the children that does not have anyone at home that's concerned for them. And I know that your staff and all of our staff in our schools is really going the extra mile to reach out to those kids. And I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. And I'll put a little plug in there. Mount Vernon Elementary is a great school. And when you walk through the doors, you know that kids are being loved on. And I love the video, so thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I just want to, I want to thank you all again. Listen, you all as a board, you all as parents, we have too. Listen, without supportive parents like you all, it would make our jobs even more difficult, because there is a lot of children that don't have that support. You all know that. And so going back to that social, emotional, sometimes we get caught up in what we're going through, but what those little ones are going through their own things. And so I think it's just important we don't lose sight of that.
Well, and one other thing, on a personal level, I can say that the staff that Carabella has worked with this year has just been phenomenal. I mean, they have reached out and loved on her, and that's just a special thing when the bonds are created, and a child is wanting to talk to their teacher because they like talking to them. I mean, I can remember I had a few teachers in school. I didn't want to talk to them, okay? But it's just really important, and it makes a kid feel extra special. So I just think your staff is just phenomenal. And I'm sure it's that way in every school, but I can only relate to you no problems in dropping them off of a morning. You all got that down to an art.
That's great. They have done a wonderful job.
That is awesome, yeah. So thanks again. I appreciate you. And if we have nothing else, I thank all of you all also. And I appreciate you so much. So motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Got a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Brandon, are we off camera now?
Can
Wendy
you go
King,
so
I can never